Hey guys, it's MiIabu. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a simple sweatshirt. This is the one that I'm going to be using, but obviously you can pick your own. I also have my extensions open because I'm going to be using them later, but this is of course optional. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. First, obviously, let's just add a new layer, and we're going to draw the outline of the sweatshirt. So I'm going to be using black for this since the sweatshirt's black. And I'm going to start at the neckline and just draw a straight line and then pull it down so that it's a semicircle. This will be the neck hole. And then I'm just going to copy and paste one side so that it's even. Then next I'm just going to draw the bottom where I want it to end. So about right here. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this and flip it up. I would recommend having the roller open for this because then it's easier to see how far you should stretch it so that it's not blurred or low quality. So, okay. There we go. So that's that done. I'm just going to extend this outward so that it covers all of these rectangles here. So that's your basic outline, which I will now fill in. Okay, now that that's done, we can move on. Also, I forgot to do this earlier, but it's not really a big deal because it's easy to fix. Anyway, I'm just going to lighten this black just a little bit because, you know, normally the clothing you wear isn't pitch black. You're not going to be a walking void. So I'm just going to make that a slightly lighter black. And as you can see, I made the neck hole a bit larger because I wasn't happy with how it was before. But you don't have to change it if you don't want to. I'm also just going to quickly clean up the bottom here. So now that that's done, we're going to create the details on here. I'm just going to use the color picker and click on that so that it copies the color. And then I will be using the shapes tool. I'll be using the rectangle, and in the drop down menu here you just want to press draw filled shape. And then I'm going to just put that right in the middle. Okay, that looks about right. And underneath the pink is a small white. So I'll be copying that as well. So before we do anything, we'll want to shade this. So just add a new layer. And I'm going to edit the layer properties on this. And the blending mode I will be setting it to reflect. And then we're going to change the color back to black. And I like to have the brush width at 15 for this, but you can do whatever you think looks best. So I'm just going to go around all the edges. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll clean it up later. Okay. So you should be shading around the edges and wherever there's a natural shadow. But seeing as this is just a basic sweatshirt, we're not going to get into that today. I also just do pretty basic, you know, shading like this. I don't go all out. It's going to be blurred anyway. So anyway, speaking of that, we're just going to be using the Gaussian blur. And then just messing with the radius until it looks good. Now you don't want your shading to be too bold or too obvious. That'll just make it look kind of gross. So anyway, so yeah, don't make your shading look like that. So just pull this out a little bit, like that. Okay. And now I'm just going to clean up the excess down here and around the neckline. Okay, now that that's done, we want to mimic these crinkles here, which is pretty basic to do. I'm just going to name these layers really quickly so I can keep track of them. Okay, another layer. We also want this to have the reflect blending mode, and we're just going to essentially do what we did on that layer, except we're not going to be putting it around the edges. I'm going to use a slightly smaller brush width for this. Doesn't need to be too big. Maybe 10. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so I'm just going to be creating some little lines here and there. Okay, and now I'm going to use a Gaussian blur on this, but we don't want it to be like that. Maybe just like a 2 or so, yeah, so that the edges are blurred and not as sharp. And then next we're going to use the motion blur, and we're going to point it downwards. Doesn't really have to be on point. And then you just want to mess with this until it looks realistic and not too harsh. You can also mess with the opacity of the layer in case you're not getting desired results out of this. Okay, so now that that's done, I don't think it looks as good as it could, so I'm going to go back to layer properties and edit the opacity just a smidge. Now I'm going to add another layer, and I'm just going to use a lighter black/gray to do the highlighting. You don't want to use pure white because it would look too harsh against the black. So anyway, I'm just going to use the color picker to pick this, and then go back up to this layer, and just kind of change it a little bit, make it a bit lighter. There. I'm also going to take the opacity down quite a bit, and then we're just going to put it in between the little ridges that we made with the black. You're going to do the same as you did with that one. So as you can see, I put the opacity down by a lot so that it's not overwhelming. And then I'm just going to clean up the excess again. So now that we're done with that, we can add some little extra details, like the hemline up here, like this pure black, and again you want to make it reflect. Okay, I'm going to use the shape tool for this, except I'm going to be using ellipse, and I'm just going to be making the outline. Okay, and then we're going to be doing the same down here. Okay, and then I'm going to edit the opacity so that it's not so harsh. That's good. And now that we've got that done, we can go ahead and start on the sleeves. So we're going to be bringing the color down onto the lower part of the template. I'm just going to use the shape tool for this, make it easier. And then just bring it down to about here, so that you still have a spot for your hands to show through, your block hands. Okay, and on the side here you have this kind of pattern, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to go ahead and create that again. Okay, and then I'm going to copy and paste it onto the shoulder here. Okay, and there's that. So now I'm just going to copy and paste this and flip it to the other side. You don't have to select the whole side, just this part will be fine. So now that that's done, we're going to go back to the shading layer, and I'm just going to take the shading from here. You could have done this all like in one step, but I always forget to, so I just do it like this. So first we'll resize it to fit this shoulder part here. So yeah, I always like forget to do the bottom part because I'm too busy focusing on the top part. So if you remember to do all of it at once, then I would recommend doing that. Okay, so now that the shading is done, I'm going to be adding that line to the bottom of the sleeves. Okay, and lastly I'm just going to copy and paste this shading onto the back so that it's consistent. I also forgot about this, but I want to copy and paste that onto there. So I'm just going to do that really quickly. And there we go, all finished. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. I know it was a bit basic, but it was what I was designing for the night, so I decided that I should just do a tutorial on it because it wasn't really enough to make a speed design. If you guys want to suggest other tutorials or other video ideas, then please let me know in the comments. And if you would like to use my extensions for your sweatshirt, then please ask me. You can message me on Roblox, Twitter, or Discord. I will leave all that info in the description. So goodbye for now, and good luck with your designs.